The red light is on, so you know what that means.
Oh yeah.
Oh, buddy.
Oh yeah.
Brother Hugh. Brother
Mm-hmm.
Hugh.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what I want to tell you?
What you want to talk about?
I need you to think about this, right? Go
Mm-hmm.
all the way back to 1997. 1997. I want you to go back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because in 1997, we had a debut, but it was short-lived. It was retired in 2002. I'm talking about the European Championship. It stood on the title. It gave us some unforgettable moments,
Yep.
some unforgettable matches, and some unforgettable champions that held that title. What better way than to pay homage to a belt that we're still talking about today? Let's get to it.
Yep.
Maybe we should just
Ooh,
keep the music playing while we
that
talking.
ending, boy. Boy, that joint hit your soul, boy.
Because I feel like
God.
you about to do the Levi Kaiser walk when you hit. It's like you just want to do his walk like with his hands behind his back.
Right.
But welcome to season 3 of Championship Culture. I'm Brandon the Guy, and he is H to the A to the S to the T to the H to the E to the 3 to the R to the D, none other than Brother Hugh. And
That's
we're
me.
here to let you know that every belt has a story. So, today, if you couldn't tell from
Mm-hmm.
the social media post, if you couldn't tell just from the name, and it might be a long name, but guess what? This is, we're bringing back a series that we started all the way back in season 1. And before we dive into it, let's just break this down because I think a lot of people might think it's kind of like a dig or a shot in the dark, but you know we're calling it the other belt because when you classify belts, you usually have the world champion, a secondary title, and usually you have a clearly defined secondary title. But then wrestling promotions will have the other belt, and it's not to discredit it. It's just that it didn't fit into the world title. It didn't fit into the secondary. It's always been the other belt, right?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
and it's always AEW has a couple other belts. TNA has went through other belts within the Legends title, the television title, and they have the Digital Media Championship. ROH had the Pure title. It's always been that other title. You can argue and say the television title was the secondary title, or you can say the Pure Champion, depending on what time it was with air. It's always been other belt, right?
Right.
So
Right.
that's what we're here to discuss because this is a series that Championship Culture used to be. Because we had the other belt, we had the Good Brother Drew in season 1, and we broke down some of those other belts. And it seemed like season 1, season 2, and season 3, we keep scratching at the surface of that European Championship. And the reason I'm saying that European Championship because when you look at the championship, it's one of the most unique designs. It's a nostalgic title where in WWE history it just keeps coming back, right? It keeps making a resurgence. It keeps being part of a conversation. And for a belt that only lasted from 97 to 2002, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's still relevant. Like, it's still becoming part of the conversation. It's like, yes, we had this, 2024 is going to probably go down in history as the year of the belts, right? But that's the one belt. Everybody can't bring it back. WWE is doing shows in Europe. They're doing all these different shows. Bash in Berlin, all these type of shows. Clash at the Castle, all of this stuff. Even Drew saying he would love to bring it back, right? The songs of
Absolutely.
NXT Europe. They're talking about the European expansion because this title just keeps coming up. But to understand why it keeps coming up, we got to do, brother Hugh.
What we got to do, bro?
Well, first we got to say hello to Justin because I've been waiting for this. It must be Tuesday. In all capital letters with some exclamation points, right? He definitely is here. So, Justin, I guarantee you're gonna want to be part of this, and we're gonna ask some questions, right? But let's before we get to the favorite part of everybody has a story, we got to talk about the history,
Mm-hmm.
brother. Here,
Yes,
when this
sir.
title was introduced, and I want everybody to think, as you're watching this, think back in 1997. It was a different era of wrestling, right? We had DX was running rampant.
Okay.
The
Yes,
Nation of
sir.
Domination. I don't think the Vince McMahon character had been born as of yet. It was kind of like there. It was starting to be on the cuff of things. We went through a transition from the classic IC to the Oval IC. It was on a purple strap, then it was transitioned to the black strap, and this is when Rocky Maivia became The Rock. I just want to put you back in that time frame. So we're in a different time frame, right?
Hmm.
And in
Young
'97,
young
we
boy
got
Hugh,
this.
out there on the baseball field,
What
doing his
was you
thing,
doing?
basketball court, killing it.
Oh, what position did you play?
Oh, at that time I was playing in center field.
Oh, okay. Instead of
Yeah,
field watching for that. I don't know how you can
Hey,
see when the ball was coming, but
King
more
Griffey,
power to you. Okay.
King Griffey, baby. That's it. King Griffey and Kenny Lofton. My bad. Go ahead. Keep going.
No, you're okay because guess what? When do you remember who the inaugural champion was? And when I say this, you know this is a loaded question, right? Let's just
Hmm.
start off saying, do you remember the inaugural champion for the European title?
It was John Cena. Nah, it was British Bulldog, of
Ex-
course.
And, and where did he win this European title?
He won it in Germany, of course,
Mm,
on foreign soil. But that was a great move. If
it
you
was a
think
great
about
move.
it, why not put it on one of your top European stars at the time to introduce the title? This is what I was talking about earlier with the introduction of the U.S. title, the women's U.S. title. We wanted to put it on somebody that's credible, that has enough star power to make that title feel important right away. And British Bulldog was that at that point in time.
Now, before you go on, look who's here. I say he's my uncle because you swear we was related, and he sometimes goes by Grandpa. There's brother
Grandpa,
Ben Walker. you
Grandpa,
know,
yeah.
what's going on, brother?
What's
So,
going on,
and
sir?
I want to hear what he has to say about this European title because remember, it was a new introduced belt,
Hmm.
introduced to, and British Bulldog won that tournament, became the champion, held
Not
it
to
for
mention,
200 some days. It felt like it was a belt made for him, right? He
right?
was just like, not to mention,
Not to mention, he went up against one of the best wrestlers of all time, and Owen
and who
Hart.
did he? Oh, in the finals. Not a lot of people realize that match is one of
Right?
those hidden gems, and
Yes.
it was because it wasn't a whole bunch of flippity doo I'm pretty sure they get a 5-star rating. But it is a history book goes. You can go back to that match and watch every moment of it. And it was like a
Yep.
crowning moment for the British Bulldog. Not
Right.
just because of his name, but because it felt like, being your name being etched in history at that time. And that's going to be the story that people tell. Like when we talk about the first Intercontinental Champion, we always talk about
Hmm.
Pat Patterson. You get what I'm
Right.
saying? So it's kind of like a name being synonymous with that. The only other time it happens is multiple reigns, long reigns, but 200 and something odd days, 206 days he was champion. Now,
Right.
I hope that the comments don't say Brady, you're incorrect because remember this is doing tape delays, certain things to be recognized one way, certain others. So I'm gonna just go with 200 odd days because it might be 205 to some, might be 207.
Yeah.
200 days, almost, you know, the bulk of a calendar year, right?
It's the
And
longest
Justin
reign.
even said, yep. And look, he says one of his
Single reign.
low key favorite titles and underappreciated one too at the time. And at the time, we had the Intercontinental that we knew was a second, but now you had to have this belt established. You were trying to put it on something major. You had this
Hmm.
great tournament with the who's who of wrestlers, and then the two top workhorses that could put on that could at that time have a bad match, put on that match, won, right?
Yep.
The only thing that you would think that would have brought it, and he said WWE should have brought it back in the main title in the NXT UK.
They should have.
Now I'm gonna get to that in a second because when we get to this, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna give you my thoughts on that, and you're gonna probably laugh about it because I think that we missed the boat on it. But I promise you, Ben, when you see my reason why, you're gonna understand what I mean. So when 200 days British Bulldogs running, and then Shawn Michaels dethrones our champion, right? And I'm gonna say our champion because it felt like it was a title made for him. It was a point in history that we were like, we didn't know that history was being created.
Hmm.
Shawn Michaels got it, and then he was a double champion. So now you have your
Hmm.
WWE champion with your newly created belt. Add some credibility or take it away from it. Which one do you think? Because I got my own personal feelings about that.
It added credibility because number one, Shawn Michaels was one of your top guys, top new guys at that point in time. That was a guy that was going to carry your brand into the next era, right? So instant credibility. But what he did afterwards kind of devalued, I would say, the prestige of the title. Um, of course, with him winning it while he was WWE champion or WWF champion or whatnot, of course, it automatically devalued it because it's a secondary title anyway. We only care about the heavyweight championship. But then when he took and did basically the finger poke of doom and just gave it away to his guy Triple H, I'm with it because I get it, I understand. Like, all right, why not give it to my homeboy? You know?
But so I'm gonna give you this wrinkle. Having your world champion win that title makes sense because he shouldn't be losing
Oh,
to a
absolutely.
lesser champion. Not
Right.
as in, the British Bulldog is lesser, but I'm the world champion. I'm the top echelon. Everybody wants to be me. So of course I'm gonna win. But then here you get into where you book yourself into a corner, who's he gonna lose it to? Because if I beat the world champion, I don't want the European title. I wanted the world title. So
Right.
that's why I say it kind of was like a why will we do this? Looking back on it now, like, why did we do this? Oh, just to get it on Triple H, right? But
Yeah.
we got it on Triple H, and then it became a thing where it was like, okay, Triple H got it, but he was part of DX that had it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then slowly but surely, we got the man that was synonymous with this belt. And I think you can't say European title without saying this this
That's
gentleman's
right,
name,
baby.
right? You just,
Right.
I don't think anybody would ever, like, even when we made a post one time and say, who's the wrestler that you think about? I think the comments blew up with just D'Lo Brown, D'Lo Brown. I don't even know if anybody posted anything else. I think it was like one William Regal thing. But D'Lo Brown was the standard for it. And if you think about it, he became the was going to Euro Continental champion, as we
Yep.
see there.
The very
But
first one.
D'Lo, right, and it was during his Nation of Domination time. And I'm gonna take you back to a weird time in wrestling. I want to think about it. He's having a match with Triple H. He's taunting like, you're gonna recognize all this stuff, right?
Right.
And Rock's ringside. Of course, Mark Henry comes down. The distraction. Rock hits him with the rock bottom, which would later turn into the Rock and Triple H's feud. But, rock bottom, D'Lo covers, and he's like, I'm the champion. I'm the champion. And to see him in interviews saying that made a big deal to him because it was like, I'm a champion in a company that I grew up watching. So
Mm-hmm.
now they had something that was fighting for it and viable, and him only being the fourth champion because we went from British Bulldog, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and now him. That meant a big deal. So of course, on the house show circuit, he's going to carry it. He's going to be the one that's might have been opening or closing some of these house shows because remember their touring schedule was what
It was
almost
crazy.
7 days a week back then,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But we always talk about his dance partners, and this is where I think that really made D'Lo the standout for this because he had a great dance partner in X Pac.
Now,
From
before you go on, I wanted to touch on Triple H getting the title. Um, it was a good decision because even though it kind of devalued the championship, the way it was handed over, it was a good decision on the backside because you do have those titles on some of your top stars, which is DX at that point in time, right?
Mhm.
So more spotlight. Triple H, that title was used to as a workhorse title, to help get newer talent over, right? And it is did its job with Triple H as champion. Then he went, passed it on to D'Lo. D'Lo established himself as a solidified single superstar, right?
Mhm.
Now we're gonna keep moving. So it made sense at that point in time, but then now we go into the third person from DX to go ahead and get the title. And mind, like, I'm not gonna lie, during this time, this was one of my top rivalries. D'Lo and X Pac, man, I live for that. I'm not gonna lie.
And it was always good matches. And it
Absolutely.
was during a time when we were hot shotting the belt between people because I believe it was in August they traded it like either
Hmm.
Xbox One or D'Lo got it right back, and then it went all the way to like October. And
Right.
even when you think about it, even when he got it back, and then he beat Jeff Jarrett for the Intercontinental title, it was like, oh wait a minute, we need to pay attention to D'Lo. Hold on,
Absolutely.
he's not only
Absolutely.
getting over with the crowd, he's putting himself over. The handshake is doing something, and he was to the point that it was like, whoa, this man, not only was he so good with the Intercontinental title, they gave him the European, he got the Intercontinental as well. So it was
He
like,
was a great
oh,
superstar. Yep. Full of power.
and
He was a mat technician. Like, he can go in the ring. And honestly, he was one of my favorite wrestlers at the time because he was one of the only black champions that we had at that point in time in the industry, right? The only
Hmm.
other one I could really think of right off top was Booker T, right? In WCW.
Yep.
So I'm like, immediately for me, I hate to keep playing that card, but I'm gonna be real. It's me. I favor the black superstars because there wasn't a lot of them out there at the point in time when I was watching it. So with D'Lo on the screen doing his thing, like it felt extra special to me. So
And that's a good thing because even when you could make that connection, you
yeah,
wanted to see that. You wanted to see what he was going to do. And yet you might have, and you gonna laugh when I say this, you might have like a foggy lens or rose-colored glasses, but if it wasn't for him doing certain things, you're like, okay, I'm really, having that match, like you said, X-Pac defined his career.
yeah.
And I know you wasn't a TNA guy, but I'm gonna make this comparison. This is probably gonna make the notes for tomorrow's show.
Uh-oh.
D'Lo Brown and X-Pac was just as good as D'Lo Brown and AJ Styles in TNA. If you go back and watch the early TNA when D'Lo Brown was there, you're gonna see that D'Lo works so well with guys in that style. And I'm gonna leave it at that. That's
So
my.
I got some homework to do now
You
because
got a little bit of homework.
I wasn't watching TNA back then, but yeah, okay.
You definitely doing it. Every belt has a high and a low point, or like a, wow, this is something great. Shane got it as part of the story. Then it was deactivated. It was given to Midian, and then here come out Hero D'Lo Brown to get it back, and that's where the D'Lo Brown, the Euro Intercontinental Champion started. Jeff Jarrett got it. Then it was like it was split off again. Mark Henry had a run. D'Lo beat Mark Henry for it. Then here come the British Bulldog. I'm gonna leave that alone. But then we started to see the rise of other stars, right? And that's
Mm-hmm.
why this belt is so important, right? D'Lo Brown might be the unsung hero of the European Championship because of his multiple reigns, but because of his feuds. But
Mm-hmm.
you can't deny now we start to see other people, right?
Right.
So the reason I believe that this Intercontinental title is so important, you got to see, all right, here's a Val Venus, give him a test run. Yeah, later on he got the Intercontinental title.
Yep.
Brand new face of Kurt Angle, he got it, and he's Euro Continental Champion too, right? And when he was Euro Continental Champion, that
Jeff Jarrett won
famous
it too.
WrestleMania, right? That famous WrestleMania 2000, and we know what happened in that match. First fall for the Intercontinental, second fall for the European, and Jericho walks away with it. But then we see the great Eddie Guerrero get it. And as much as we knew Eddie Guerrero in WCW, it was kind of like, oh, he's a radical. He's with WWE.
Nah,
But when he got that European title, it was the birth of the Latino Heat.
that was Latino Heat with Mamacita. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
that that
Yeah.
gimmick got over because of that belt, and it was because
Right.
now we have a champion, and this is what we're doing. Yes, China was there. We can argue all that stuff, but if you
Yeah.
take the European title away, does Latino Heat really get bored? Does it get going? Does it get over? Because now it's kind of like the evolution of Eddie from the cruiserweights, from the WCW to jumping ship with those three other guys, and now being, Eddie Guerrero. Do we really
Right.
get that? Mm-hmm. That's where it's like, okay, what we doing here? But then it kind of had a dip. Probably Saturn got it. Didn't do much of note. Al Snow, he had that gimmick. Then we move into that whole William Regal thing, right?
Yes,
And
sir.
who doesn't remember William Regal, who embodied the aspect of a European gentleman, right?
I could not stand his butt back in the day,
But
especially
you
in
wanted to see him.
WCW. Right.
But you wanted to see.
Absolutely. Absolutely, though.
Speaking of which, look, people that you can't stand. Here's your birthday twin.
Yeah.
I bet you. Oh wait a minute, no. What you call it? Said no. That's definitely your birthday twin.
They all say it, bro.
Ah, you're your birthday twin. They all say it, but I thought that was Shadow's handle. Um, now Justin says Eddie at Backlash 2000 pulling up in the tux and
Craziness.
that was, but that's a different. It was, and I think that's what Triple H side note is trying to bring us back to the entertainment moments because how we remember these things, we remember the characters. You probably couldn't even name an Eddie Guerrero match during that time, but you can remember these moments. You can remember that they weren't horrible because most people remember horrible matches, but everybody remembers that triple threat. First fall, Intercontinental, second fall, European. People remember when Al Snow was doing that Europe gimmick, and even when D'Lo Brown did it back then, right?
Yep.
So it was always a thing where it was an aspect to the character. It was something else they brought to the TV, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to the European title, do you think that they did a lot of trial and error, or do you think it was calculated for entertainment purposes?
I think at that time it was mostly trial and error. It's like you said, that belt was used as a tool to help build other stars. So you have guys like Tess, who had the look, couldn't talk a lick on the mic, but he had the look, and you wanted to give him a chance to see if he would get over with the crowd because he could potentially be one of your top stars in the business. He literally had the look, 6'6", good looking fella, can go in the ring, one hell of a big boot. Loved it. I loved it when he did that big boot.
It
One of
was
the best
clean,
in the
wasn't it?
business. It was clean, clean as hell. But it was used as a tool to help build other wrestlers. So I mean, you gotta kind of think or figure like it would be more trial and error as opposed
Hmm.
to more calculated. Plus, you got to remember who was running it at the time. Who was running things at the time?
Anyway,
Come on now,
we're going
that guy.
we're going we're going to say this because when you talk, let's sit on that. I don't want to say trial and error, but giving people a chance, right?
Yeah,
For some reason, tag teams always got a split. So Matt Hardy had a ring with it, right? And it was like, oh, okay. We saw Jeff as cruiserweight, and I don't think Jeff had been intercontinental by this point. But I think they
mm-mm.
were trying to give Matt something because it was like, all right, let's give him something to do, right? But
Yeah,
then we saw crowd favorite Hurricane, who also we find out later on in life, Matt Hardy and Shane Helms are good friends. They wrestled, numerous times. That's why that was good.
right,
Even when we saw Bradshaw before he became JBL, we even see Christian, the fishnet shirt wearing Christian. We even saw former WCW champion DDP get it. You know what I mean? So it was
right.
always
I
back to
forgot all
like,
about that. That was his only singles title in WWE.
and remember, it came at a time it was like, is this a good thing or bad thing? It was like, okay, so this is what we did with DDP, but then dropped it to Regal, right? And then we kept saying like Spike Dudley emerged, William
Mm-hmm.
Regal, and it wasn't until Jeff Hardy got it, kind of felt like, oh, okay, this is really trying to see what people can do. But as you said it, RVD became the belt killer, right?
The belt killer. Yep.
Killer. So
You
even
know what I'm
though
saying?
I'm gonna ask you this before we get to the belt killer, do you think there was moments that this European title surpassed the Intercontinental title as being the second tier title? Because it was clearly established the Intercontinental was the second tier. Do you think it was any moment that the European title felt more important than the Intercontinental?
I would say the only time that would really happen is actually when you had like your double champions. It felt like it was at
Euro
least on the same
Continental.
level, right? So you had
Okay.
your Kurt Angle, guaranteed next top guy, right? Then you had
Hmm.
D'Lo Brown, who made it feel so important. Um, Jeff Jarrett, yeah. At that time, it was just kind of like, all right, cool. He only had it for a day, the European title for a day, so it didn't really matter. But I would say at that time, those were the only two guys, or only two times in history, as far as the legacy of the European title, where I felt like, look, all right, it's pretty much on the same level as the IC title. Um, Hold on, let me backtrack because Regal, when he had the European title, he was actually amongst the top dogs in the business at that point in time. He was up there with the main event guys, wrestling in main events with The Rock, Austin, Triple H, those guys at that time. So it definitely he brought a little bit more, I would say, pizzazz to the title. You see what I'm saying? He brought more awareness to the title because now you're seeing it in prime time at the height of the show. Hey, now you get a little bit more prestige, a little bit more respect to it. But speaking
And
of
him,
respect, or maybe I'll touch on it later. Go ahead.
no, no, go ahead.
No, I
Because
was gonna say I was gonna ask you with the times that all right, first of all, with the hot shot booking, then it was at least three or four times where the title was just given away. Do you feel like that title wasn't really taken seriously at any point, or was it? I hate to keep saying devalue, but that's what I'm asking. Was it? Did it feel like a devalued title?
so when it was given, when Shane McMahon retired it and then brought it back to give it to Midian, I felt like it was like, why are we doing this? And I'm not discrediting Midian at all, but we'll look
Mm-hmm.
at his place on the card. When they didn't treat it, because remember we had multiple shows when we didn't see it treated the
Mm-hmm.
same way as the Intercontinental. When we didn't see it open or close the show, because yes, your world champion is always there. You had the WWE champion, or WWF champion. I'm sorry, at certain times versus WWE. You had, of course, your champion, but you had Raw and SmackDown, right? Because it
Right.
was there for the portion of both, right?
Right.
And you didn't really give it that time to feel like the wrestlers made it a big deal. William Regal made it a big deal.
Hmm.
Christian made it a big deal because it was a single title form. Matt Hardy made it a big deal because it was a single title form. X-Pac. But then you had people who was like, okay, Test got it, but you're like, shouldn't he be doing more? Owen Hart had it, you're like, but we want more for Owen Hart. You know what I mean? Like we wanted more of these things. It was like, all right, DDP, we wanted more. Al Snow, right where he needed to be because Al Snow was going to give us what we needed. Does that make sense? Not that we wanted more from Al Snow, we got exactly what we needed. Spike
Hmm.
Dudley, we were happy he got a title. Remember, he was going through tables, falling off ladders. He was the third Dudley out of
Right.
storyline, but then when he ran in the ring, grabbed the brass knucks, knocked out Regal, put it back, and then pinned him, it was like, oh, we want this. You know what I mean? So when we didn't get the equal playing field, it felt less. It felt like the other title and not the secondary title. And I'm just going to compare it because this is a point that I want to have like Justin chime in, Ben, especially I know Ben's going to love when I say these letters. The IWGP United States title was around for about the same amount of time and almost served the same purpose as the European title.
Right.
Do you do you agree with that statement, or do you think I'm just pulling stuff out of left field?
Hold up. Say it one more time.
Do you think the IWGP served the same purpose as the WWE European Championship? They were around for about the same time. Do you think they
Mm.
both served the same purpose? And what's the basis of my claim? I know that's what you're thinking, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking.
All right, so let's, and this is where I'm and see, Ben knows where I'm coming from, right? IWGP United States title was around from 2017 to 2023. Think about who their first champion was. Kenny Omega, right? At that time, Kenny Omega was doing things in New Japan that was unheard of, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Right person, right time. Same reason with the British Bulldog. Right person, right time, right?
Mm.
But then we saw people start to chase him for it. We started to see people go after it. No matter your status in New Japan, you wanted that belt, or we're going to put it on the person that you're going to pay attention to.
Right.
Juice
Right.
Robinson, Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes was NWA World Champion and won the IWGP United States title. And I'm gonna say it's probably because he was NWA champion. Think about it. Um, Murder Hawk. I'm calling him Murder Hawk. What's his name? Why am I drawing a blank? Lance Archer. You get what I'm saying? All of these people that you're paying attention to and you're looking for.
Right.
John Moxley, when he first left WWE, getting that title. We could talk about the Will Ospreays, but it served the same purpose to get these stars over or these stars recognized, regardless of what you brought to the table. It's going to bring eyes to it because D'Lo was in a faction, but we had to bring some eyes to him. Xbox X Pac was in a faction, but we brought some eyes to him. A single star, we brought him to. Members of the Bullet Club now have this title. People from outside want this title. So it
Hmm.
served. And look, Prototype even said yes, right? But I want you to think about it. And it was the 28th title next to the company's. It was the 2B title. That's the thing. So remember, we knew the IWGP Intercontinental title was their secondary title.
Right.
Born in
Right.
2012, and it was literally that is the Shinsuke Nakamura title, the Kota Ibushi, all of them. This is the who's who of New Japan had that title, regardless if he was world champion or not. You're getting
Hmm.
that title, right?
Right.
But then you got this new shiny toy that sometimes is more important than Intercontinental. Hence why I'm saying did that serve the same purpose as the European title? Talk to
Shoot.
me because
Since,
I just
since
threw
you
you into.
since you just broke it down like that, I never even thought of it like that. To be honest, never compared it to the U.S. title and the IWGP U.S. title. But since you broke it down like that, then yes, it's pretty much they run neck and neck. They serve the same purpose, 100%. Building superstars, building prestige, and yeah, just elevating talent to the next level.
And if you think about it, WWE has always been their own bubble, right?
Yeah.
Well, they're their own bubble in, I say, 97 to 2002, right?
Uh-huh.
So IWGP wasn't necessarily their own bubble, but they had to bring attention to it. And what better way to do it is though not only these established stars, but other stars. Because remember, at the time when Kenny Omega got it, and this is where I need Ben to fact check me, when Jay White took it off him, I don't think Jay White had been world champion yet. But I think it was the fact that Kenny Omega had been world champion, or I might
Right.
have it backwards. Juice Robinson was just becoming a New Japan guy. We know Cody, but then Juice got it back. But then Moxley, who fresh out of WWE, got that belt, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah, COVID happened, everything. Lance Archer, Moxley, Tanahashi, Kenta, fresh out of his WWE run. Let's establish him back, and let's make sure they have that. Sonata, who knew we would see Sonata as the world champion
Right.
later on?
Right.
But I just want you to think about all of these who's who, because one of my favorite matches, well, some of my favorite matches are Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay. Anytime they fought for that IWGP United States title, gives me the same fight feels as, like you said, a D'Lo Brown and X Pac, a William
Yeah.
Regal and anybody. It's
That's a
giving
list of
me that
names right
same,
there.
yeah, it's giving me those moments. So it's like, oh, didn't think about that.
You're gonna make me rewatch that US championship title show that we
The
did.
IWG,
The IWGP US champ. Yep.
and I told you, I said, I'm gonna throw some stuff at you because this is why I believe that we're still talking about this European title to this day. And
Right.
what better way does championship culture try to make it relevant? Because without a belt like the European title, in a short amount of time, look what is built for us as wrestling fans.
Absolutely.
It's taking us to these moments and the inspiration from the belt, because we're going to get into everybody has a story. But I want to address Ben's comment from earlier when he said this, right?
Hmm.
Because when the NXT UK Championship was brought into play, of course, it had the same um, shape as the WWE Championship. It was all cookie cutter, but it had parts of the coat of arms of UK, right? Now, me being born in the United States, I'm not for sure. I'm looking at it now with the if it's a horse and a lion or some other kind. I don't want to be disrespectful, but we know about the two things on the side, right? Now, Ben, to your point, and I'm gonna put this comment back up. He said WWE should have brought it back as the main title in the NXT UK when they ran with it, right? I think it should have been the NXT UK champion and the European title as the defined secondary title for that brand. And
You
think
kept
about
it.
it. You would have the Intercontinental, US, and European title, and you would have those across each brand. So that way, when we wanted to do a brand warfare, because you introduced the North American, you would have four big card titles for all four of your brands. Because you have four world champions. So that way, it forces you to be equal. Because at times, it felt like the NXT UK champion wasn't really a world champion unless they were in the ring with the NXT champion.
Right. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
So, what better way to have the North American, the European, the Intercontinental, and the US champion as your four secondary titles? Bringing that back with its lineage, and even some of the pictures we saw when it was updated, I was like, that would be perfect. The only way to bring it back now, I think, is to make it the NXT European champion. I'm sorry, the WWE European champion, and make that just for if they do NXT Europe. Make it that is the championship, or let it be the second one. Um,
That makes sense.
he said you just gave me inspiration for my WWE 2K4 2K24 universe. I'm just saying that's what I would have did from a belt standpoint. What better way? Because they had re-released the belt in 2021 on WWE Shop, and then it disappeared,
Yep.
and it would have
That's
been
what.
perfect. Just Triple H, you're good at making a modern feel. That could have been your secondary title for NXT UK.
Like you said, man, it still might happen. The expansion is still happening.
Thank you for the correction. It's a lion and a horse. I wanted to make sure it was a horse on the side because I definitely don't want to say the wrong thing and then I get I get backlash. That's why I wanted to make sure I was saying the right thing. It's from the coat of arms. Thank you. I remember when they broke it down. It's from the coat of arms in the United Kingdom. That's the significance of why it was on the front, and they kept it for the women as well. So with that, what better way to pay homage to the United Kingdom, and if you would have said the secondary title is that of the European title, I think that would have been kind of cool to say, you know, now we can really have a global expansion because we have the NXT UK, NXT um, in America, and then we have the European title in North America because the North American champion couldn't defend it anywhere, just
Right,
like the Intercontinental.
right.
Yes, the United States champion can go other places and defend. IWGP did it, but it would have been kind of cool. So thank you for the fact check, TJ. We appreciate that. So here,
Yes, sir.
I know we just spent a lot of time about this. I'm gonna ask you before we go to everybody has a story.
Hmm.
What are some of your most memorable moments with the European title? And everybody in the comments, if you post yours in the comments, trust me, we're gonna talk about your memorable moments too, because I would love to hear everybody's memorable moments with the European Championship.
You know what? Right off top, just thinking about it now, I don't really have memorable moments. I
Okay,
had memorable reigns, of
all
course,
right,
every D'Lo reign, because
okay.
Test, my guy, so he just shows up on the screen. Um, X Pac at the time, those are the guys that I paid attention to and I really cared for at that point in time. So,
Now, what about this guy made because as you see, we got X Pac here. What about him made it so memorable for you?
man, I was an X Pac guy ever since he was 1, 2, 3 kid. When I found out he was the kid back in the day on what's
Really?
the game? Was it Raw or
I
Royal
was just
Rumble?
saying, was that the arcade game?
It was the one on
Remember when
Sega.
Undertaker used to throw the
Nah,
tombstone at? I
it
remember.
no, it wasn't that one. It
Okay,
was on Sega. Um, I want to say Raw. Yeah, it was on
okay.
Raw. But him and Razor Ramon, when he teamed up with Razor Ramon and did this thing with Razor Ramon, because Razor Ramon was my guy.
Hmm.
That's when I started liking him.
Got you.
Then later on, of course, his character kind of got like kind of stale for a while for me. I wasn't really like interested in him as much. But of course, when he teamed with my guy Kane, it came right back because I was like, all right, look, X Pac was always a great worker in the ring, but you don't pay attention to that really in when you're younger. When you was
Right.
my age at that point in time, you weren't paying attention
He
to
was
that. You
like,
just
I'm.
like, oh, all right, yeah, whatever, whatever. Then of course he became part of DX, and then he joined up with Kane, and I was like, hey, I was with it 100%. So
Hmm.
I mean, X Pac, yeah, and we already alluded to the rivalry that he had with D'Lo at that point in time.
Right. Because you
Classic
talk
matches.
about this, and I think D'Lo went through each one of his reigns had so much depth to it that it's like
Yeah,
you could talk about each one individually to the point that you're like, this really is a D'Lo belt, but the same argument can be made about
Regal,
this man. Like I
four and
feel like
four.
either one. Like you could say, is it the D'Lo belt or is it the William Regal belt? So I just and the reason I'm saying the moments because I alluded to this earlier. I just
Yeah,
remember the moments. I if you had said Brandon, name me an Eddie Guerrero title defense, with I'm like, he lost to the Bright Sider. But I just remember so much of the Latino Heat character and how him and China worked together so well. And it was always like that moment that you're like, oh, okay, this is what I'm paying attention to. He's getting screen time. He is making each moment count, and he's making me remember these. But then you flip it to this guy. I was like, you only got that because your dad was WWE champion, and you need to have a title. Like,
he had some good matches though. You know what I'm
I don't,
saying? With
I
X
don't.
Pac, it was a good
He had
feud. Let's
better.
put it that way. Not good matches, maybe good feud.
Yeah, it was a good feud. And Shane, I'm not taking anything away from him. Shane can work. Shane, I feel like he put the work in to be a decent wrestler, so it doesn't look like he's just I'm the boss's son and I want to wrestle. He actually, you can tell he is something there. You know what I mean? Like now, is it Bad Buddy levels or Logan Paul levels? Absolutely not.
You
But
know
it's
what?
a
No, go ahead, go ahead. My fault. Go ahead.
no. Go ahead. You got it.
I was about to say is now that you pop Shane up on the screen, I could only think about one. It was WrestleMania 15, him versus X Pac, European title. Triple
Was
H
that
came out,
15?
turned on him. Was it
Because
15?
17 was that 15 or 16? We might
I
have be
think it was
fact checked.
15. I think it
It
was
might have been
15.
okay.
But when
Because
Triple H, that's when Triple H turned on him, hit him with that pedigree and put Shane on top of him, and Shane won the title. That's one. But then the other moments that I can think of are all like foolish, like the handoffs. Mark Henry, he was given the title for um helping Jeff Jarrett beat D'Lo.
right.
That
It
crushed
was
me
like, here you
because
go.
that crushed me because D'Lo and Mark Henry, they were my guys. They were
Hmm.
doing their thing as a tag team.
We wanted
I would say,
D'Lo. I mean, we wanted
but
Mark Henry to get a title, but not
absolutely,
that way.
but that's when he was sexual chocolate, and I was like, what the heck is this? You know what I mean?
And last one I want to mess with you about was, of course, the.
This dude.
It's true. It's dang true, but it's crazy because when we get to every belt has a story. I want you to remember, um, pay attention to the belt. That's all I'm gonna say. When you look at all of these belts, you notice something very well. Xbox doesn't have one. You notice
No.
something very distinctive when you see these belts, right? Now look at Regal.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Regal's belt, right? And then I want you to look at the one Kurt Angle has, right? Because I promise you, after we address these comments, and we're going to have a moment from our sponsor. I'm pretty sure we're going to get into everybody has a story.
Oh
Oops.
yeah.
Uh, he said you can still do a Euro and UK just as you said. Make sure the Euro is on top of title and the NXT UK, and the UK is the conference. So
That
Ben
makes
wants it
sense.
flipped than what I
Right.
said. Okay, I'm with it as long as it's is there. And I think my thing is I really want the belt there because I feel like they missed the opportunity to cash on nostalgia. Look how Triple H has taken everybody money this year with just releasing belts. Look at the CM Punk belt. Look at the Roman Reigns belt. These signature series belts are selling because clearly people want belts. And now that the kids have grown up and have money, us kids that have grown up now, we want these things that's going to take us back to those moments. We want these things that's going to remind us of these, right?
So if you reintroduce that as a belt guy, as a belt designer, would you redesign that belt? Would you give it an uplift, a facelift?
I would give it
Or
a facelift with still having you remember that it's part of it's etched in a part of history. So there was a photo going around
mm-hmm.
that had like the most up to date thing that I've seen. And ladies and gentlemen, I just sprung this on Hugh. So knowing him, he'll probably upload in a second. But I love that design because it paid homage to the original, but it felt like a modern feel. So while he does that, Justice says nothing specific, just people I looked at um, look great with the titles. Test, Xbox, D'Lo, Eddie, and Jericho. Now I gotta be fair. Jericho only had it for one day. He won that Mania and dropped it the next day. But his name is etched in there, just like with the hardcore title. He had it for that time, walking up the ramp, then he lost it. Right?
Right.
Can't forget the original Poke of Doom with DX. That wasn't that when Triple H was running back and forth on the ring, and he just kept running back and forth and didn't. That I hated that with a passion. I was like, "That's what we're doing," and then the
That's
music hit,
exactly
break it down. I was
that's
like,
exactly what we're doing.
"Yeah." So from a belt perspective, and this is where anybody can chime in. When you let's think about the World Heavyweight Championship. When you look at the version that we're using now, you automatically see callbacks to the original, but it has a modern day feel. When you look at the WWE Tag Team Championship, not the World One, the WWE Tag Team Champion, you can see callback to the original Attitude Era tag belts. You can see a callback to that design, and it's like, okay, I'm with it. This makes sense. So when you look at the European title, and I forgot who created this, and I would love to give them credit for it because it was a concept. And I know it's been shared around multiple times, but I love the fact that, and I think he was still trying. When we show you this, it's going to show you what I believe. If it was to come back, it would have to look like this. So I think that we catch up on all the comments.
I
I
believe
think we
so.
did. All right. So, I lost you for a second.
Oh shoot. Hold on.
No, you okay?
Hold on. One more second. One more second.
You okay? But while Hugh does that, we're going to take a second because that's going to lead us into everybody has a story, and we're going to hear a word from our sponsors.
Ooh, yeah.
Yo, yeah. You want to eat like a champion? Check out Mr. Fries, located on 419 York Road in Tulsa, Maryland. If you go in and just use the promo code championship, you'll be able to eat like a champion. Once again, save 10% by going over to Mr. Fries and using the promo code championship. Make sure you tell them that the championship culture boys sent you. And remember, every belt has a story. You enjoying the show so far? Good. Go over to Instagram and follow us at championship culture underscore. And don't forget, check out youtube.com/the wrestling room. Look for the playlist for championship culture. And remember, every belt has a story. Every
Okay.
belt has a story. That
Every belt.
that worked out well. So, of course, when we talk about every belt has a story, I got belts. So,
Belts on belts on
did
belts.
you get the? You didn't get the picture up, did you? Because I know I threw it at you at the last moment, right? So
I'll have it
every
up in a
belt has a
second.
story, right? So when you look at the European title, right, the reason I love this belt is because it was so different. I like belts that you can look at and I feel like you want to know the significance behind it. The problem I had with this belt, I don't think that we're ever going to get the original ones that were used on TV because Jamar made the original, and I know there's a lot of dispute between who can recreate it, who can't. It's been things where the flags have changed on each belt, and even to the point, this belt that I have is a figure inks from 2006
We're
when they
ready.
were reproducing the belts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, as you see, one of the main differences is yes, my banner is red, but World Wrestling Entertainment is white. On the 2021 re-release from WWE, of course, they were 5 inch thick and it was all gold here, and it just
Yeah.
said World Wrestling Entertainment. This was even different. On the original, sometimes you'll see in the top where the logo is, it was black with the
Yeah.
scratch logo with the red swoosh and the white, and even on the side, you would see that as well. The thing about this belt, when you talk about every belt has a story, and we're gonna break down the design, right? Now, Jamar, the side plates were different. It had a property plate, right? But this remake one, as you see, the WWE logo, kind of similar to how we have side plates now with the globes on the side, which coincidence, maybe so, maybe not. Maybe the original people that was doing it was like, let's make sure there's globes on the side because all our side plates start with a traditional globe, right? But this
Mm-hmm.
had a red World Wrestling Entertainment around it, a small little burst pattern around it, similar to how we had for the Intercontinental and for the tag team belts, right? Simple square plate. I have a little discoloring at the top, as you can see from mine. But you have the wrestlers doing a grapple move on the side. Each one is outlined. I don't know if you can see it with a nice border circle on each corner. And when you get to the main plate, this is where the meat and potatoes of the belt is. If you can look at this belt and see, all right, this is a big deal. This is something serious because anytime you got a bunch of flags on the belt, it tells you it represents something major, right? It has the globe, big banner. Yes, this belt does not have a nameplate. There was one commissioned right before they decided to have the belt killer RVD basically merge it. They were going to start putting nameplates similar to what the Intercontinental title had. But it's insane because standardized 5 plates, when you get to the end, it gets a little bit smaller because of the raised portion on the inner 2 plates. But I'm not going to pretend to remember exactly which one had each flag. But if you watch Paul Martin, he does a great breakdown of each belt. And I know that this flag is backwards because it's corrected here on the bottom, but it's backwards here. That's one of the things I believe because so many people was watching, looking at pictures, trying to get snapshots of it. Grainy camera, trying to recreate the belt really didn't work. But of course, this was commissioned by WWE through Figures Inc. Then WWE released their own, and they got rid of this white banner. It's solid gold. This belt is still holding up, and what's unique about this one got the green backer. Um, and you can see the official JMar thing with the WWE logo. This leather is still holding up better than some of the other ones, but nothing in the snap box. It's plain as can be on both sides. Some of them have tooling and details within it. This one did not. So that's a breakdown of the belt. But you asked me a question here about what would I do to make it bring it to modern time, right?
Well, first of all, before we get to that, you're not going to talk about how that strap was the sexiest. That belt, it was the sexiest green strap belt ever.
Yeah, because I was not a fan of the original one. But D'Lo Brown had did an interview, and we'll post it and we'll tag it and post where he had said what happened with the belt having a green strap. A lot of times when as we peel our layers of wrestlers, they usually have multiple belts when they're the champion. They have a belt that they have to carry with them, a belt made for TV, and a belt made for them probably just to keep with them at all times, right? So D'Lo was on his way to the ring and he saw that the European title had a green strap. And he was like, "Hey, can I carry that?" And he was like, nobody had a green belt. He wanted to stand out. This is during his run as European champion. So he went out, and there you have it. It stayed with him. He was the one that um, initiated the green strap. When the green strap went away, you'll notice a lot of European titles start having a green strap on the back instead of on both sides. But D'Lo was the first one because of he saw it. He was like, "I want that belt." Of course, to stand out, which it did, just like his reign. But most of the belts now, you'll see people get them redone either on a green strap or have the green backing for it because it reminds them of. Even when you look at like Jeff Jarrett holding the belt at one time, you could see that it was a green strap behind it. I think Kurt Angle's was black, but I think William Regal at one point had a green strap. It just depends on which iteration you had at that time.
Absolutely.
He said, "I'm gonna have to take a trip now. 695. Them joints I'm telling you, it's right across from Hughes' place. What's that cheesesteak place that you like?
You talking about
You and Hollywood talk about?
in Towson?
Yeah,
The real thing?
I think it's right across the street from it. I think I saw
From
it.
the real thing, yeah.
Yeah. So, oh yeah, definitely do. Um, brother, Hugh, do you have that picture? I didn't know if you had time to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Okay,
okay.
so I know that has been passed around. The reason I like this, if you look at the top plate, I mean the top belt, it literally has like a huge sunburst pattern on its side plate. The WWE logo is in top, but the thing I love about it, I feel like the flags, when you take them away from the bottom and make them the focal points of the side, it brings your eyes to the attention that this is a big deal. With the sunburst pattern around the center plate, and it has like a crown, a cross, different things that represent, I believe, different regal things for when you get to Europe and there's different systems of government and things like that. So I always thought that that would have been perfect to bring it back. I thought this belt was gorgeous the first time I saw it, and I said that's a perfect update to a European title. The globe is there, but the globe is more defined. Now we know how Triple H does with globes. I can see that middle part just being the WWE symbol versus the actual globe, and then doing something different at the top, maybe having a crown or something to represent, even if you did like a certain coat of arms or something to represent, or just put the globe up there. I don't know what they would do, but I feel like that belt was different. The only problem with the one on the bottom was too similar to the European title. Yeah, the logos are a little cleaner. The banner is similar, but I just think the top one, when you see that, it just looks so good. What say you, brother Hugh?
I'm with it. It looks clean. It looks clean. I like the upgrades.
It's got enough
Yeah,
color for you.
I
Does it
would
have
have to
enough
see
color
them.
for you?
I would really have to see them side by side and hold them
Hmm.
to really make like what was that? Yeah, did y'all hear that?
It was. I set a belt down.
No, 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 no. It sounded like somebody was like yelling in
Oh,
the background.
don't know.
But yeah, yeah, I would really have to like have them side by side and really break them down to really see which one I would like the most.
Hmm.
But I'm with it. I've
But I
gained a
would
new
like them.
appreciation for the design of the original and this one, to be honest.
And see, and I really like. I would hope it would be a bigger belt too, but a bigger belt with that shape still, because the
Okay.
cruiserweight belt was a perfect size. No, you okay? I think it was
Hmm.
a perfect size because you had smaller guys with it. Any
Yeah,
bigger would have looked kind of crazy, like how the North American title it looked ginormous around Adam Cole and Ricochet because they're smaller
yeah.
frame guys. But then when you see it around an Oba Femi or like even a Tony D'Angelo, you're like, that's the perfect size because they're bigger guys. You know what I mean?
So,
Like,
so you don't like smaller championships like that? That what is it? What's everybody's favorite? The winged eagle.
no, I don't. No, I thought it was too small.
I thought
I
that
just
was one of your favorites, though.
no the Big Eagle. Let's get it right because we
Oh,
did
okay,
Big
okay.
Eagle versus
I was
Ring
just
Eagle. I was team Big Eagle. Okay,
okay. I was just
team
clarified.
team Big Eagle. So we're not finished with every belt has a story because we broke down the belt. We talked about the green. I really think this belt, and I'm just saying this is just looking at the belt. I think it inspired a couple different belts that we've grown to love. Right. One of
Hmm.
the favorite is over my shoulder. You see the ROH belt?
Yep.
Mm, flags all over it, similar to how the flags are on there. Now, I don't want to have a lot of noise happen.
Now we wanted to hear the click clank. We wanted to
I
hear
know,
that.
but see how the flags
Yeah.
similar to how the flags were at the base of that one. Yeah, magically they put all the flags for the World Tag Team, of course. But then another belt that as soon as I saw it, I'm like, this flag motif really shows up a lot. And of course, for your favorite company, they did the same thing with the flag motif.
Yeah.
So
Definitely
that
did.
flag motif is definitely something that became recognized. And I want to say, because of the European title, I'm pretty sure. Now, this is a nice belt.
That's a
But
beautiful
I just
belt.
want, yeah, it is. Oh, my backing. I'm looking for red backing. But I just wanted to point that out. This belt has inspired, I believe, when you see a bunch of flags, you automatically think, okay, international. It's not just for one place. It has to be something more than just that. Because remember, the Intercontinental title just had the maps. Like it was like they took the globe and cut it in half, and each side plate was like Africa, Europe, um, Australia. It was different parts of the world. One the side plate represented. And
Hmm.
now here we get the flags. Um, so I'm gonna ask you this, and this is for anybody in the comments that, because I would love to hear their opinion. Since we didn't get it in 24, do you think we're gonna get it in 25?
I don't know. Maybe 26.
Why 26?
Because I feel like he's still on his expansion stuff right now. Like he as in Triple H or the WWE in general. I don't think everything is going to be established, fully established into where they could have like a full blown European brand,
Hmm.
or until about early 26. They got a lot of work
So
to
you
do.
so you're saying early 26, right?
You
But
got that ID program going too. Let that give that some time to marinate, to really work, to figure out what they want to do with that. And then you can go ahead and utilize those prospects to the best of their ability, whatever way you want to.
so I'm gonna ask you this because I'm not good at geography, but I would just want you to tell me where's some of the places in Europe WWE has already been. Just let's think
I
about that
mean,
for
of
a
course,
second.
London, where else? UK, well,
They
that's the same
they've been
thing.
to
They got
France,
some
right?
else. France, yes. Where
They've
else?
been to France.
They've been somewhere else
Has
recently.
have they been to Ireland? I'm trying to think who was the
They were just
superstars.
in Germany?
Yeah, it was
They were just there, right? Like last week, two
yes,
weeks
but
ago.
what you call it? When what you call it was on the cover, right? And that's when
Berlin, Germany,
Gunther was on the
yeah.
cover. But
Yep.
we know they've been places and they keep wanting to go back, right?
Hmm.
What better way to have a signature series belt or a resurgence of a belt because he likes to take out money.
Oh,
And the
absolutely.
next
All of it.
PLE, they're like, oh, limited edition European Championship for the European Tour.
They're gonna get that real big PLE over there. That's what he's waiting for, the real big one.
What
I
the
don't know
big
which one
four?
it's going to be, but it's gonna be a big one. And then that's what
You said it's gonna be a big one.
it's gonna be a big one,
All
you
right, so
know.
if it doesn't come back in 2025, it comes back in 2026.
I'm going
Do we see it
26.
make its do we see it make its way back on the WWE shop
Oh,
in
absolutely.
2025? Okay.
Most
And
likely.
when it came back in 21, I know that just like with Intercontinental title, they increased the thickness of the plates. I'm pretty sure they upgraded the leather like they do with all of them, and they probably upgraded the belt bag. Would you want to see any upgrades to that title, or would you just leave it exactly like it is?
Personally, I would like to see it the way it is.
Okay.
Just reinstate it the way it is. Because I'm from the old school. I was there when it came out. The first, what I mean? I would love to see that title again. That specific title once again on my TV screen and get that pop of nostalgia.
All right. So
And
here's
give
the
it to my
tough
guy
question.
Ludwig.
Give it to he got to be
That's it.
Intercontinental champion first.
Nah, okay. I'll take it. I'll take it. He needs some gold. He deserves it.
Okay. So,
The major
question
goal
for you:
is the European Championship. The top dog,
the top dog
top dog.
and not Sheamus?
Not Sheamus.
Okay, that's pretty sad that you would go over that way over Sheamus.
I mean, nothing personal, but Ludwig is my guy.
Okay, and my the only other question with it, every belt has a story. Are
Hmm.
you ready for this?
What's that?
So, why does the European Championship matter so much today?
Why does it matter today?
Yes, like as in 2024, a
Hmm.
belt that's been gone since 2002. Why are we still talking about this belt 22 years later?
Because of the enhanced excitement of the possibility of it coming back. We see the evolution of the talent that we have in WWE. We see the expansion going on, and now we're starting to go back and be like, look, all right, what if? What if we bring this title back? What if we bring the hardcore title back? What if we bring the European title back? So like it just makes sense. New things are happening, expansion is happening. So now we're going back and we want that taste of nostalgia, like I said earlier. Why not bring it back? Why not? You can always wonder. Or bring out a new version of it. Why not? We keep getting belts. Always. We keep getting belts. We got two more within like the last month, right?
Hmm.
Why not?
Three women's belts from WWE, one from ROH because they introduced the women's television title. That was this year, right?
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
because
this
when it
year.
was WrestleMania, it felt like it was forever. Oh God, WrestleMania feel like it was like 5 years ago.
Doesn't it?
Um, it, TNA just changed all their belts. And not to mention the
You got the
indie
speed,
promotions that
the dashboard,
oh
and
yeah, the dashboard title. Oh yeah, 2024 was definitely the year of the belts. Um, and I think 2024 is going to be remembered as the year of the belt. Like I thought when people talk about, different eras, I think this year is gonna be like, man, you remember 2024? We had every belt. We had a new belt almost every month. If you count how many belts we've had and how many variations or changes we've had,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure we average about one belt every like 2 weeks.
yeah,
Yeah,
possible.
because this, yeah, especially different variations. Like remember, the international champion became the the American championship.
Yeah, you
That's
got too
all.
much going on. Thinking next year, but 25, you got a lot going on next year. The whole John Cena thing. You got Goldberg retiring. Like it's a lot going. It's still the bloodline. Like
You
you
got Ric
still got
Flair gonna retire. He gotta have his last match.
right,
He had
right,
his last match. He gonna have his last match
right.
against Charlotte. I did it. You see what I did? I did you. I did it
Yeah, I
you.
saw it. You did.
I
You did.
did. But Ben said, did he? So this is why I believe Ben thinks that the belt. We're still talking about the European title. Why it still matters today. The unique look of art. It is nowhere near as ugly belt as attached your eyes of the U.S. belt. Wait a minute. Attached attracts the eyes of the U.S. belt head. Well, I'm gonna say this. It definitely was a unique look
Mhm.
because when you compare it to, and I'm gonna just let me mute it so you don't hear the clinking
Don't
and
mute it. We
clacking.
want to hear the clink clack.
All right, you want to hear the clinking and clack? All right. My other one is actually in a display case. But when you compare it, you had this belt clearly define your secondary title, right?
Mm-hmm.
Asia, Australia, Africa, Europe, North America, South America. And then it's a WWF, and then what's that? Antarctica, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had this as a secondary, and this as the other. Automatically, the contrast of the red and blue. Of course, I put one upside down. Um,
Come on, Tonka
of
Lord.
course, I know I definitely just did a Tonga lower. Um,
Uh,
I'm gonna start holding belts weird, but not only that, you notice no jewels. Jewels. This had an oval shape. This had more of an oblong shape instead of oval, but it was clearly two distinctly different belts for two different reasons. And
mm-hmm.
I know people gonna hate when I say this, but I swear this was a shrunk down Big Eagle. I just feel like they just said shrink the Big Eagle and just just collapse it. You know what I mean? Because at glance, it looks like, remember when the 2-man power trip had it? It was like, you got the big belt, he got the
Yeah,
little belt. That's what it felt like to me. But when you look at these two, equally as important at any time, either one could be the secondary title. Unlike New
absolutely.
Japan, I felt like that, well, been a couple of years. When I'm going to say version 5, even though it was technically version 1, because it was the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, because they unified the IWGP Heavyweight Championship and the IWGP Intercontinental title to make version 5. So that's another belt story. I feel like the US title just looked better than the actual main title. And it was because of the look of it, everything about it, the size, the details, everything about it just like it was an overall better belt. I can't say that for either one of these because had unique. They were both unique in their own way. Yeah, you
Absolutely.
had the hardcore title that you clearly knew. Well, this could be two. This could be two B. This could be two. This could be two B. And then you had the hardcore title. Go over there and do what you need to do by yourself because we're not even going unless you're RVD. And then we're going. And the only reason we called him the belt killer because he was the chosen one to unify all the belts except for the world title. That was
That's true.
crazy to me. I was like, so you let him unify everything, but that okay, that makes sense. No, Kane beat him. No, he unified the hardcore and the Intercontinental, right? He
Yeah,
unified these two.
yeah.
Why do I feel like Kane was in the mix of something?
I have no idea.
Okay, I don't know why I was thinking Kane, but then when it came to the world title, he didn't do it. Or he did. But mm, what else you got to say about the European title, sir?
It's European. That's about it.
I'm the champion of Europe. Remember, that's what D-Lo said. I'm the
Yeah, right.
champion of Europe. I'm the champion of Europe. He was walking in the ring. He was so excited. But I get his excitement because, like he said, I'm a champion in a company that I grew up watching. So I think with the uniqueness of it, we're going to continue to talk about it because it was such a great moment in history, just like we said, Hardcore Reborn. The
Hmm.
Hardcore title just mentioned it was coming. I was like, oh, you failed us
Right.
with the 24/7. Don't you fail us this time? And that new title, it was perfect. That the little detail of it being a former Universal Championship, a championship that's no longer around, became quote unquote the hardcore title. I thought that was kind of neat. So Triple H, I know you watching this. Give us the European title in any iteration. That's all I'm gonna say.
Just add metal to it. But
Just
actually, both of those titles were like the highlights of the house shows
hmm
at that point in time, which was great for the fans because usually at house shows you'll get title defenses, but you don't get title changes. And
hmm
at that point in time, like those were two of the more prominent titles that changed, on house shows or house events. And that's always a treat for those people that had the house shows and whatnot. So that's another
because
reason why I appreciate the European title and the hardcore title, to be honest.
it might not have been the world title, but it was a stepping stone for so many of the superstars that we are still
Absolutely.
praising today. And I would challenge anybody to go back and look at D'Lo Brown and AJ Styles, and you'll see exactly what I mean about D'Lo Brown and X Pac. If it wasn't for certain people holding this title, we probably wouldn't know that Christian could have did it as a single star. We probably wouldn't know that Matt Hardy could have did it as a single star. We
Yep.
probably didn't know that William Regal could become so hated that a little runt and Spike Dudley, and I'm not calling him a runt, that's what he was called back then, could outsmart him and take the title from him. It was like little moments like that that really made us say, "Oh, I'm okay with this. This is pretty cool." So oh yeah, and we cheer and we're like, "Yep, this works." So
Were you okay with
henceforth,
Owen Hart taking the belt off of Gold Dust?
it was Goldust dressed up as Triple H. I
Right.
wasn't going to touch on that because that was you talking about a confusing. That was a time because why did Goldust have to dress up because Triple H refused to, or did they ask him? What was I don't remember the whole
Forgot the
story,
whole
but I
storyline.
remember
It was foolishness.
it was something crazy. It was like Triple H, formerly known as Goldust. It was something crazy they said, and the Sergeant wasn't Sergeant Slaughter was the
Yeah,
commissioner or something, and he was
and
like he just let it be
that's what
because it
got
was
me. I was
like
like, why you just let it be? Because that's like that doesn't make sense. But okay.
yeah, I was like they just kept messing with Sergeant Slaughter. He was known as the artist formerly known as Goldust, who was dressed up as Triple
Oh, that's
H.
right. Yeah, yeah. It was during that
Yeah,
time. Yeah, he was
and I was
dressing up and
like,
all that.
oh, and that's we might have to just do a whole show on Goldust because that's one of the unsung heroes of wrestling. Period.
Yeah,
Um, this man still going, but that was I didn't mention it
he's coming
because
home.
he's got it. I didn't mention that, and the only reason I didn't and love Owen Hart to death, I know it's a sensitive subject to really do his name justice, and I didn't
Hmm.
want to just say, boom, he had it because at the end of the day, yeah, he was one of the greats, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I think that we talk about great wrestlers and former people that didn't become world champion,
Yeah,
like same thing about this guy. I feel like we didn't like that belt was like, hey, he can do it. Move him on. You know what I mean? And yeah, the genes run the British Bulldog is not the same as this British Bulldog either. So that's why I'm kind of like, okay, yeah,
that's
we
definitely
can
not the
kind of
same.
tiptoe around it, but he really didn't beat Triple H. He should have, but then Triple H beat him a few months later, and that's where the D-Lo comes into play. So yeah, I purposely didn't say it because I know it was a sensitive thing. But any other curveballs, I did like when Christian beat Bradshaw. Though. I will say that because remember Bradshaw beat the Hurricane, and I
Yeah,
didn't like that. I was so happy they got it off of him and gave it to Christian.
just one clothesline.
Oh my gosh!
I think we did,
Any
brother.
fi- any final thoughts on that European title?
Not at all. I think we covered it for the most part.
And I hope that this will get people to go down the European title rabbit hole because it was definitely you can see the evolution of it, and you can definitely see what made that belt so special. Hence why when we say a championship culture, every belt has a story, and man, does this one have some stories. Tell the people where to find us, you.
You can find me at HASTHE to 3RD on all social media platforms. You can find this guy, the guy, Brandon, the guy, at Custom Guy 913 on all social media platforms. And where can they find us, brother?
Oh, you can find us every Tuesday on youtube.com/the wrestling room where you can tune in for a new episode of Championship Culture and on Wednesdays for the flagship show of the Wrestling Realm. But cheap plug, if you want to go check out Uncle Ben Walker, go over to Facebook and look up Championship Belt Brothers. All Thing Belt. It's a very respectable group, a very knowledgeable group. And when I say no scammers, if it's posted in there, it's probably been vetted, sent
Yep.
through FBI background checks, and Uncle Ben has vetted them to the point that you're like, they're good. And
I
also,
can't
if you,
call him Uncle Ben, man. He gotta be Grandpa. Because
I don't want to
I
call,
keep
because
thinking about
Grandpa
right.
was angry.
You're right, but I keep
But
thinking about
he was
Rice.
angry when he was grandpa. But you know why I keep saying uncle? Because the first time you say, he's like, "Is that your uncle?" That's
Yeah, right.
I was like, no. But I will say this: follow Championship Belt Brothers because it's always unique things. It's a lot of other people in the same space as we do.
Yep.
Um, and then he also has Championship Figure Brothers. He's one of the admin, one of the creators. Both of those, if anything, figures, Championship Figure Brothers, real easy to remember. Belts, Championship Belt Brothers. We can't go through a season 3 without having been on the show because he was in season 1.
Absolutely.
Um, the middleman, the story of the middleman, and then season 2, he was the network logo, right? Yes. So and he even showed off his collection, which I know he's
Right.
putting back together. I want to say rebuilding because that sounds like he doesn't have it. He's starting over. But when you move, you gotta rebuild it. So Ben, calling you out, brother. We need you for season 3. Uh, other than that, make sure you stay tuned and don't forget to like and subscribe and click on that notification button on YouTube so you never miss a chance when we go live. We post shorts, we post regularly, we post on all our social medias, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure do.
Okay. And don't forget, tune in every Tuesday at 8 p.m. for the next episode of Championship Culture because I want to thank you for watching. And remember, Every belt has a story, and I can't
Every
wait to
belt,
hear yours.
every belt, every belt has a story. Peace.
Go over to Instagram and follow us at Championship Culture _. And don't forget, check out youtube.com/The Wrestling Run. Look for the playlist for Championship Culture. And remember, every belt has a story.